But we'll see how well he pilots this NEH deck against the ever-aggressive criminals. Looks like Zach took a mulligan, or maybe he's just taking forever to shuffle.
No, he mulliganed it.
Something
Pacer not amused.
Yeah, something I was talking about with Aaron. It's, sometimes it's hard to know when to mulligan when you have 9 cards in hand. Everything seems good, but sometimes it can be better.
Wish I could see where Pacer's eyes are going. I'm not sure if he's amused by something off screen or if he's just trying to intimidate Zach.
Into the universe. He's just staring off into the universe.
All right. I think Zach going to take a extra 9 cards here and see if he can't find something a little better.
Yeah, and still, as you can see at the bottom, plenty of time left in the round. So, as predicted, there would be some fast games.
There seem to be some good cards in there.
Yeah, seems that way. Already has a Corroder out, Desperado, and a Legwork. So, going to be pretty happy with that. Pacer looks like he sees a Biotic. Can't really tell what else, but clearly 2 pieces of ice and something to install. Because that is what he will do. To Zach, he's going to sure gamble. I would bet Desperado's coming out next.
Probably a Corroder fairly quickly.
But did we see Earthrise? He might think about dropping Earthrise and just drawing.
Runs.
But he will run into whatever that was.
Thanks, Pacer.
He's going to leave it. Maybe a pad campaign.
Gonna go with the fairy here. There we go. Yep.
And he will drop the silencer in the bin. Interesting. So Pacer will res the pad, he'll install and get his free draw. And then it looks like he's going to take 2 money and pass it right back to Zach. He's going to run into HQ, see if he reses that ice.
Once that fairy's down, no fear.
He does not. We'll get his Desperado credit and access. Another thing that we don't get to see.
Oh, we did.
Jackson.
There we go.
There. It's a nice pull this early in the game.
Checking remotes. Pacers.
Looks like it might be another Jackson. And yep, he will trash it. That's going to be pretty big for Zach. He'll run back into HQ and see a Beal. Wow. That's about as good a turn as you can ask for.
He is rolling that train right along.
And for 4th click, no surprise. Gonna run back in.
Why not? Pulls. Okay.
Pulls, I think, a piece of ice. So Pacer not feeling too happy about that. But he will Biotic.
I think he's realized that his hand's vulnerable and needs to get this out as quick as possible.
Install draw.
And
play the shipment. Score an Astro.
At least he didn't steal that one. That's how the turn could have been better.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, didn't realize Pacer's hand was so flooded, but
it'd be good. Jackson's.
Yeah, I hear those are good against flood. Zach gonna run into R&D. Pop-up shows up, giving Pacer a little bit more money, a little bit more hope. And Zach blanks on the R&D draw. But at this point, Pacer's got to be thinking he's pretty far behind.
Well, I mean, he's not terribly far behind. I mean, he has the Desperado set up, he has the Fairy set up, but he doesn't know what other breakers Zach has in his hand. I mean, we know that he's sitting there with a Corroder, but from Pacer's point of view, as I say that, yeah.
Although, again, breaking news, not end of the world. Although that is.
But eventually, you have to score it.
Yeah, that is
still
one you
a second
eventually
agenda.
need to score. Yeah. So feeling pretty happy about that. Pacer still not sitting on enough money to res whatever that piece of ice is. Something I'm sure he wishes he could do. Now, do you think why do you think Zach doesn't legwork?
At this point, I mean, Pacer probably has 2 points.
When he's getting these free accesses early, you think it would have benefited him at all to play that legwork?
Well, one of the things that you kind of learn to do against Criminal and Pacer may or may not have been thinking it is you want to leave these face down ice face down in front of HQ as long as you can, so that they don't know what breaker they need to go get. And then when they try to account siphon you, res it so that you can actually stop them.
Fair.
And I think he may have been thinking, well, if he tries to legwork it, Pacer may actually be able to res that piece of ice, and so he may stop the legwork and then waste it. Now, once Pacer reses that and he knows he can get through, sure, I fully expect those legworks to come.
These two just talking a little bit about what Pacer was doing on his turn. Zach draws a second legwork hand to hand. Sitting on 3 credits right now, so not huge number. Oh, and face checks the Architect.
And with 2
We'll
Jacksons
be able to break.
Yeah, I think that's
the
totally
ferry.
worth the ferry.
And then he'll pay 1 for the pop-up and get it right back with Desperado. And I think he
Look
sees...
like a shipment from Sansan, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking it was a Data Raven. Something with a single glowy bit in the middle. Yeah, looks like a shipment. I guess this isn't a Tag Me deck, right? So wouldn't be a Data Raven.
Be a fun bluff, though. Just
Yeah.
slow the runner down a little bit, let him think it's a squirt.
Certainly. Although with Architect already out and rezzed, it'd be tough. So Pacer, I guess
There we
just
go. Now he
takes
can
money.
raise that.
There it is. There's a second Architect,
Yep,
and it will fire. So he's going to get Jackson back.
And I mean, I can only assume that, you know, Zach's going to go try to trash it. He's going to immediately sack it to get back the other Jackson and the Biotic. I mean, he actually has stuff in his archives or in his heap now that's actually worth getting.
And Pacer actually gets to install above R&D for free at Piece of Ice. So that's
I think that was a good play there.
super, super beneficial.
He almost takes the pad campaign back.
So Zach pulls the shipment. That's all he sees. And looks like he will leave the Jackson.
It's an interesting choice. I mean, he has Pacer at minimal credits. He has at least 1 Jackson dumped in the pool, and he knows he has 2 cards in hand. Does he really want to leave Pacer the ability to draw out those cards and refill his hand and
I guess
maybe
he's
get some economy?
maybe more worried about just getting the rest of his rig down. You know, he can't afford to keep running through an Architect. So he drops the Earthrise and he's going to start drawing. We see an account siphon, so. An account siphon and a ferry, so that'll get him that account siphon run if Pacer keeps just moneying up. And it goes straight back to Zach, who's, you know, debating what his line is here.
So do you think a account siphon run here is worth giving him the Architect install?
I don't think so. I mean, I think if you're going to do it, you have to install ferry and just go with a ferry run. I think, honestly, taking money this turn isn't terrible for Zach. Just wait and let and see what Pacer does.
Let Pacer get a little more money for him to
right.
take.
Because if Pacer spends his next turn moneying up, then Zach can install ferry, run with account siphon, and then clear the tags.
I mean, Zach's obviously looking for something. He's sitting here with 8 cards in his hand, 7 cards.
Right. Data Sucker.
It just looks like he's running archives twice. No, once.
Once.
Looked like he made a double motion with his hand there.
Just once, so it pays for that Data Sucker on its own. That run. And he will drop a legwork and another silencer. So yeah, clearly just not super worried about those big sentries that his Switchblade could break. Pacer gonna hedge fund, and I think this is gonna signal to Zach it's time to go to work.
Yeah, he suddenly let him get that little bit of leeway, and now he's back up to 9 credits. So now we have a game on our hands. Zach got some card draw set up. He has some stealth set up. He has a little bit of economy going. Pacer has some ice down. It's time for the interesting decisions, in as much as, you know, NEH provides them. And Zach, it looks like, trying to figure out what of his plethora of cards he needs.
Yeah, I mean, I think one play here is just install the security testing, maybe a special order for your next breaker, and pass it. But I think he's got to seriously consider the account siphon route here. But the problem is that puts 2 ferries in your heap pretty early.
I mean,
And it doesn't leave Pacer on 0 either.
Right.
but it does put him out of range of biotic scoring something.
Well, right now I think he's just trying to figure out how to efficiently get into R&D because he's drawn that R&D interface there.
Right.
And he is a step ahead of NEH right now, which is a place that's kind of tough to get to. But once you're there, you know, that's kind of where you want to be.
Right.
So if he can figure out what this face down ice is and how to go get it, or get the breaker for it, but it may just be that he doesn't have economy cards. There we go.
So he's gonna take the slow, safe approach. He'll install security testing and ferry, and probably just,
More cards again. Build up the data sucker.
yeah, and then wait for next turn to do something.
Well, now he has 3 on the data sucker, so now he can get through
Right.
Architect with no credit investment. Pacer starting a scoring server, maybe? I mean, Zach still only has 1 breaker.
Could just be a daily business server.
Good.
Or even a blacklist if he's worried about ferry recursion, right? He's seen the 2 silencers in the bin already. If the second ferry goes in, do you think you just res blacklist and say, how are you going to break my sentries?
I mean, you know that he has Switchblade in there somewhere, although, you know, like you said, the silencer's already gone. I don't know what outside of Architect Pacer's playing in the way of sentries. Typically, NEH does not have a whole lot of
Right.
them.
In fact, I think
That may
might
be
be
it. Yeah.
so. We'll see. Zach again, wondering what he's going to do this turn. Pacer on 3 cards in hand and 9 money.
Zach, one of those slow, methodical players I think Ahmed may have learned it from. Really thinks out his entire turn, calculates every move. Very rarely makes any sort of play
He's
mistakes
going
here.
to drop the account siphon.
And is he going to use the ferry? Yeah.
He will take 10 money and 2 tags. Question is whether or not to clear those tags. I think with the security testing and an Earthrise and a Ghost Runner,
It's probably safe that you can get rid of those. I mean, you have enough resources that are going to be very integral to you.
I can't imagine he wouldn't. Yeah, there it is. And then for 4, he will run that remote.
Base of resing wraparound? Nope.
He will not res at all. It is a bad campaign. But Zach will leave it. So Pacer, I imagine, gonna res Jackson here at some point and look to.
I mean, he's been sitting there for several turns. He's got no draw out of it. I mean, he's not hiding it. Zach knows what it is.
He's only using the NEH draw. Can't really see what's in his hand, but what do you think he's looking for at this point?
I mean, he's got to be looking for maybe some economy. I mean, he doesn't have any agendas that we can see. He doesn't have any economy we can see.
Right.
The strange thing is he doesn't even have, immense amounts of ice out. So I don't know what he has in his hand. I mean, he's just playing a ton of assets.
Interesting. Zach runs into, first the blacklist doesn't trash it, and then runs into Cyberdex.
Oh, he might be flooded. He's trying to push through agendas naked here.
Interesting.
Which is something we don't normally see from Pacer, right?
But I think he also realizes that his ice is never going to keep this deck out. And so that maybe that's what he has to do to score.
Maybe. Runs Pacer.
So he
Pops
tried,
Jackson.
yeah, he runs security test on Jackson, but Pacer will pop. He's going to get his biotic back as Jackson.
And
then
probably shipment, yeah.
Yeah. Because he knows if he wants to win this game, he's got to try and score fast.
Oh, no, he needs the economy a little more.
Fair. I think that's a little more versatile of a pick than bringing this shipment back.
Yeah, I mean, the shipment's really, I think, in response to Clot, that whole being able to give them a chance and then double for one action. And given that, Criminal is the faction least likely to play that, we haven't seen any evidence from Zach of any way to dig for it. It's going to be gaining 4 credits, 1 click, versus gaining 2 credits.
Yep. So Pacer drawing now. install to get his free draw. And wow, just dropping more ice on R&D. But again, putting him at virtually no money.
Putting Blacklist as his.
Pacer going to res Blacklist, afraid of the fairy recursion, which Zach does not have in hand.
So he has R&D interface. He has special order. He has a corroder. Do you start hitting R&D hard here, or do you start playing zone and wait for him to put something else on the board?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
the
mean, it's
Aster
tough.
counter's there, so he can start the train.
But at this point, with as little money as he has, I think you can just sort of go at R&D.
I mean, anything the Pacer res to try to keep you out is going to be just a huge hit to him.
Right. You know, and if it's a pop-up, okay, that's one that you have to spend every turn. But
He has his third silencer. We're interested in dropping the bad campaign and gets locked out by a wraparound. Yep.
not really sure why there's 5 on the silencer.
I think it's just a random die, more so than the pips.
Yeah.
And so looking for here archives. He's gonna try to make Pacer spend money.
Yeah, I think he wants to get some of those data sucker tokens back. Unfortunately, we know there's a virus suite in the bin, so I guess that's not the rationale.
Yeah, I think Pacer just told him that. He said,
Yeah.
yeah, Cyberdeck's sitting in there, so you can do that if you want, but
That is Pacer's ringtone. It's a great one. Really enjoyable.
nice background music for the game.
And there's the corroder. So finally he has his breaker suite up and semi-running. Still no code gate breaker, but no code gate seen. So
I mean, right now the only thing he's worried about is a pop-up, if you can even call that worried.
now he does run, it looks like, into archives.
And hits legwork into HQ.
Wow, okay. Well, that was over fast.
Pulls that out, yep. It was a little longer than I thought it would be. It was a 20-minute game.
Yeah. Well, I think it got to the point, where Pacer was just so far behind that he was like, well, I don't want to see agendas, so I got to try and keep him from scoring, and that's it. Which is never a place you want to be in as the corp, right?
Right, in any position where you have an Astro script on the board that scored, and then you have another one in hand, and you're discouraged, you have to be way behind in the game at that point.
Yeah.